All right, so we're diving into something today that sounds like, I don't know, a political thriller or something.
Yeah.
We're talking Elon Musk and his level of influence in the U.S. government.
Yeah.
It's a recent AP News article that kind of caught our eye.
Right.
They're making some pretty bold claims about Musk's role,
Yeah.
even going so far as to, kind of compare it to a potential coup.
Interesting.
So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today.
Right.
So what's got you, I don't know, interested in this story? What sticks out to you?
I think the thing that's really fascinating here is just the sheer speed at which Musk has gained power.
Yeah.
And the way he's wielding it. It's very unconventional.
Yeah.
He's been appointed this special government employee by President Trump.
Okay.
And that's a designation that usually applies to, like, experts who are brought in for specific short-term tasks.
Right.
But in Musk's case, it seems like it's given him a lot of latitude to operate outside the normal government channels.
So he's not just like, an advisor who pops in every now and then.
Bro, not at all.
It's got like a real, position.
Right.
And where is he operating? I mean, is he like in some obscure office building across town or?
Not quite. He's actually been given office space within the White House complex.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he's heading up this brand new entity
Interesting.
called the Department of Government Efficiency.
A whole new department, huh? That's a pretty bold move.
Yeah.
So what's the stated purpose of this department?
Well, on the surface, it's all about streamlining government operations, cutting spending, and eliminating what Musk and the Trump administration see as waste.
Right.
But critics are saying it goes much deeper than that.
Okay.
They're basically saying Musk has a blank check to reshape the government according to his own vision.
So what is that vision? I mean, is it simply about efficiency, or is there, a deeper ideological agenda at play here?
That's what a lot of people are trying to figure out.
Right.
Musk is a self-described disruptor, someone who thrives on challenging the status quo. I mean, look, he's applied that approach to everything from electric cars to space travel.
Yeah.
And now it seems he's trying to apply that Silicon Valley playbook to the U.S. government.
Yeah.
Prioritizing rapid change, disregarding traditional processes, and that's causing some friction.
Yeah, I can imagine. So we're seeing like swift, sweeping action instead of carefully considered policy changes, maybe.
Exactly.
With potentially far-reaching consequences.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most dramatic examples of this is Musk's decision to just shut down USA.
Oh, wow.
This is the world's largest provider of humanitarian aid.
Right.
A massive agency with operations all over the globe. But Musk, with Trump's approval, just deemed it irredeemably flawed.
Wow.
And essentially shut it down overnight.
That's huge.
Yeah, it shocked a lot of people in the international community, even some within the U.S. government.
It seems pretty drastic. I mean, what was the reasoning there?
Well, Musk argues that USA is bureaucratic, inefficient, failing to achieve its objectives.
Okay.
He believes that private enterprise and technology can deliver aid more effectively. But critics are pointing out that this ignores, the complex realities of humanitarian work, the vital role that USA plays in, like addressing global crises.
Yeah.
I mean, from famine relief to disaster response.
Yeah, so it's hard to know, I guess, if it's a genuine desire to improve the system or if there's something else motivating these actions, something more political maybe.
Yeah, and that's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
The article does highlight Musk's significant financial contributions to Trump's campaign through America PAC.
Right, so there's, I guess, a history of political alignment there.
Yeah.
What are the implications of that for Musk's role in the government now?
Well, it definitely raises concerns about potential conflicts of interest.
Yeah.
Whether Musk is using his position to further his own business interests or those of his political allies.
Right.
For instance, some critics are worried he might leverage his influence to weaken environmental regulations that could benefit his companies. Or prioritize government contracts for companies that are aligned with his vision.
I see. So it just adds another layer of complexity to this whole situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've talked about USAID, but what other actions has he taken that are raising these concerns?
So through the General Services Administration, he's initiated the termination of leases on federal offices nationwide. Thousands of offices are being affected.
Wow.
And a lot of federal employees are facing pressure to leave their positions.
Oh, wow. So it sounds like there's like a major downsizing of the federal government underway.
Certainly appears that way.
And how's that being received?
Well, the way it's being carried out is causing a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty among federal workers.
Yeah.
You know, they're being forced to make major life decisions on short notice.
Yeah.
And many of them feel like they're just pawns in this much larger power play. And they're worried about the long-term consequences of these changes.
I mean, it's interesting because even those who might generally be in favor of, smaller government or less regulation might be feeling uneasy about how this is all unfolding.
Yeah.
Would you say it's safe to say that these actions are generating a lot of controversy?
Absolutely. The reaction has been very polarized.
Oh.
Democrats are vehemently opposing Musk's actions, accusing him of orchestrating a coup.
Oh, wow.
And vowing to fight his initiatives.
Oh, and what about Republicans? Are they all united behind Musk?
Well, most Republicans defend Musk as simply executing Trump's agenda.
Okay.
But there is a growing unease, even among some conservatives, about this concentration of power in the hands of, an unelected individual.
Yeah.
And the potential for that power to be abused.
Right. It's like a classic clash of ideologies, isn't it?
It really is.
You got those who favor, bold, radical action.
Right.
Facing off against those who value stability, tradition, established institutions.
Yeah, it's fascinating to watch.
Where do you see this all heading?
It's a complex situation, and it's way too early to say for sure.
Right.
But one thing is certain. Elon Musk's presence in the U.S. government is shaking things up.
Yeah.
In a way we haven't seen before.
It's like we're watching like a political thriller movie.
Right.
Except this is actually happening.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
It is.
We've covered Musk's, this meteoric rise to power.
Right.
His controversial actions, the deep concerns this has sparked.
Yeah.
But there's still so much to unpack, I think.
And that's what we'll be doing as we continue this deep dive. We're going to look deeper into the potential consequences of his actions, examine the legal and ethical questions his role raises, and explore whether traditional checks and balances can even rein in this unprecedented level of influence.
So this is definitely a conversation that everyone should be paying attention to.
Absolutely.
And we'll be diving into it more right after this.
Okay.
So stick with us.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about Elon Musk and his approach to governing and how it seems like, it's very influenced by that whole Silicon Valley playbook.
Right. Yeah. We all know those tech buzzwords, disruption, move fast and break things,
Yeah.
fail fast, that sort of thing. And it all sounds, exciting when you're talking about developing a new app or a gadget or whatever.
Sure.
But when it comes to actually running a government,
Right.
it just makes you wonder, how does that translate?
That's the question a lot of folks are asking.
Yeah.
And it's making some people nervous, frankly, because, governing a country, especially one as big and complicated as the U.S.,
Right.
it requires, understanding these really intricate systems, a respect for, the rule of law, and willingness to, think things through carefully, deliberate compromise, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's not exactly a system that's built for, rapid prototyping and iterative development like they do in Silicon Valley.
Exactly. And that's where this clash of cultures comes in.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley is all about speed and agility and risk-taking.
Yeah.
And the government, is often seen as slow, bureaucratic, resistant to change.
Yeah.
So when you bring someone like Musk with his background and mindset into a government setting, you're bound to get some sparks.
Oh, yeah. And we're definitely seeing that play out
Oh, absolutely.
in real time.
The article highlights a lot of these concerns that are, stemming from this whole Silicon Valley playbook.
Yeah.
One is just, the possibility of hasty decisions with unforeseen consequences.
Right. They don't think it through.
Right. Then there's a disregard for established processes, institutional knowledge, and of course the data security question.
Yeah.
Especially with Musk having access to sensitive government systems.
Yeah, that's one thing that really stuck out to me in the article was when they mentioned that Musk had access to the U.S. Treasury payment system.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that seems like a huge security risk. regardless of his intentions.
Absolutely. That's raising a lot of red flags for cybersecurity experts.
Yeah.
Giving any private individual, even someone as influential as Elon Musk, access to that kind of sensitive system, it creates a massive vulnerability. There are concerns about misuse, potential data breaches, even the possibility of manipulating the financial system for personal gain.
Yeah, so it's not just a matter of disagreeing with Musk's policies or his leadership style or whatever. There's genuine concern about the potential for actual harm here.
Absolutely.
Even if it's unintentional.
Right. And that's why a lot of experts are saying, whoa, slow down.
Right.
We need more oversight.
Yeah.
For Musk's actions. They're worried that the traditional checks and balances we have to prevent abuses of power, they might not work as well in this situation.
It's kind of a chilling thought. I mean, are there specific examples of how those checks and balances might be failing in this case?
Well, one example is congressional oversight.
Yeah.
Typically Congress plays a key role in scrutinizing what the executive branch is doing. They hold hearings, demand accountability, they set limits on presidential power.
Right.
But with Musk, it seems like congressional oversight has been, limited.
So some lawmakers are speaking up, but they're not able to effectively challenge what he's doing.
Right. They haven't really been able to rein in his authority.
So is Congress essentially powerless then in this situation?
Not necessarily, but it does show you the challenges of using those traditional oversight mechanisms on someone like Musk, who is operating with this much autonomy.
Right.
He's not a traditional cabinet member.
Yeah.
He didn't have to go through the same confirmation process.
Right.
And he seems to have a direct line to the president, who trusts him implicitly.
Right. So even if lawmakers did want to step in, they might not have the tools or the leverage, I guess, to really do it effectively.
Exactly. And that raises some really profound questions about accountability and transparency.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone with Musk's power and influence is essentially operating outside those normal channels of government, how can we be sure he's actually acting in the best interests of the country and not just going after his own agenda?
Yeah, it's uncharted territory. The old rules don't seem to apply anymore.
Right.
And what's even more concerning is that the article suggests that even if there are legal challenges brought against his actions, he might try to control the whole narrative through his ownership of X, formerly Twitter.
Right. That's another thing that has people worried.
Yeah.
Musk controlling that platform, it gives him a powerful way to shape public opinion.
Yeah.
Potentially silence critics, promote his own version of events.
Yeah, it makes you think about freedom of speech, and the role of a free press, and potential for manipulation in this digital age.
It's not just about, government overreach. It's also about the influence of private companies and individuals on public discourse and even the fabric of our democracy.
Right. So it's a really complex interplay of all these different factors.
It is.
It's really challenging, our traditional understanding of how power works. And
it is.
It raises some fundamental questions about the future of governance in a world that's increasingly shaped by technology and the people who control it.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about the potential risks and concerns, but what about the other side? Are there potential benefits to this Silicon Valley playbook approach to running the government?
That's a good question. And some would argue that Musk's willingness to, challenge the status quo, shake things up, could lead to some positive changes. They point to his track record in the private sector, leading companies that developed groundbreaking technology, disrupting whole industries.
So the thinking is that, maybe, just maybe, he can bring that same innovative spirit to the government, find new solutions to these old problems.
That's the hope, at least for the people who support him. They think that his focus on efficiency, his, love of technology, his willingness to take risks could lead to breakthroughs in areas where the government's been struggling, like infrastructure, healthcare, education.
I mean, it's an intriguing idea.
Yeah.
But even if Musk's intentions are good, is there a risk that his methods could end up doing more harm than good?
Yeah.
Especially given how complex these issues are.
Yeah, that's the big question. And it's generating a lot of debate among experts, policymakers, and just everyday citizens. There's no easy answer.
Yeah.
And the outcome of this whole experiment is really uncertain.
Yeah. This has been quite a ride so far. We've gone from this seemingly simple question of, is Elon Musk taking over the U.S. government?
Right.
To this really complex exploration of power dynamics, technological disruption,
Yeah.
and the very future of governance itself.
And we're not done yet.
I know, I know.
In our final segment, we're going to dig even deeper into the potential consequences of Musk's actions.
Okay.
Look at the different scenarios that could unfold and explore what this means for, for the average person as the lines between private enterprise and government get blurrier.
It's definitely a conversation you don't want to miss.
It is.
So we'll be right back after a quick break.
Well, we've spent this whole episode now talking about Elon Musk, his dramatic entrance into the U.S. government.
And frankly, it's a lot to process. He's really shaking things up.
He is.
And it seems like not everyone is thrilled about it.
Definitely a case study in disruption.
Yeah.
And we're still seeing the consequences play out. We talked about the risks, the concerns about his approach.
Right.
Those unsettling implications of his power, going basically unchecked.
Right. And so it makes you wonder, what's the end game here? What's really driving him?
Yeah, that's the question on everyone's mind.
Yeah. Is he genuinely trying to make the government work better?
Right.
Or is it about something more, is it power?
Mm-hmm.
Or is he trying to, reshape the world according to his own vision?
It's hard to say for sure, but the article does give us a few clues.
Yeah.
Musk has a history of setting these really ambitious goals.
Right.
And he's not afraid to, go against conventional wisdom, push the boundaries.
Yeah.
He's also said that he doesn't really trust traditional institutions and that, technology can solve pretty much any problem.
So he kind of sees himself as a tech-savvy savior, I guess, coming in to fix a broken system.
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
And it's a narrative that definitely resonates with a certain group of people.
Yeah.
The ones who are, disillusioned with politics and looking for a radical change.
But there's a fine line between being a visionary leader and becoming,
right,
authoritarian.
Right.
Especially when you have someone with Musk's wealth and influence operating with so little oversight.
That's the real danger.
Yeah.
It's something a lot of experts are warning about. They're saying, even if Musk has good intentions, this concentration of power in one person, especially someone who isn't elected, isn't accountable to the public the way elected officials are.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for trouble.
Right. So it's a classic dilemma.
Yeah.
On one hand, you've got, someone who's willing to shake things up.
Right.
Potentially bring about some positive change.
Right.
But then you've got this risk of, that power being misused or maybe leading to, unintended consequences.
Yeah, it's a dilemma that we as a society really need to wrestle with as technology keeps, disrupting those traditional power structures and creating these new forms of influence.
So where do we go from here? What's the likely outcome of this whole, experiment in governance?
It's tough to say. Nobody has a crystal ball, but the article does offer a few possible scenarios.
Okay.
One is that, Musk just continues to gain power, consolidates his control over these key parts of the government, and just keeps pushing his agenda forward without much resistance.
It's a little chilling, honestly.
Yeah.
What are some of the other possibilities?
Well, another scenario is that the public starts to get really uneasy. And that, combined with legal challenges and some pushback from within the government itself, forces Musk to, scale back a bit, maybe operate with a little more transparency and accountability.
It's a course correction.
Yeah, the system kind of reasserts itself and reins in his power a little.
And then there's always the possibility of, a real showdown.
Right.
A clash of the titans, so to speak.
Right, where Musk's ambitions just run headfirst into the limits of his authority.
Right.
And then that could lead to, who knows, a constitutional crisis.
Oh, wow.
Maybe even some kind of political upheaval.
Yeah, it really is like watching a political thriller play out in real time.
Yeah.
Except the stakes are incredibly high.
Right.
And we don't know how it's going to end.
And that's why it's so important to stay informed, engage in these, important discussions and hold our leaders accountable no matter what their political views are or even if their intentions are good.
Well, this has been a fascinating, if a little unsettling exploration of power and technology and the future of government, I guess.
Yeah, it's been a good one.
We hope it's, gotten you thinking.
Yeah.
And inspired you to stay engaged in these conversations that are really shaping our world.
Absolutely.
So until next time, Keep diving deep.
Keep learning.